All right, welcome back to another episode of Hockey North Weekly. I'm your host, Tyler Lazat, here with Brendan Paulu. Brendan, how are you doing today?
I'm well. It's another warm day here in Prince George. It seems like spring has come early, and it's a nice change to the cold weather we had for a good couple of weeks.
Yes, it is very nice to now be able to go outside and enjoy the weather a little bit without it being too cold. And it's been an exciting weekend here. We're heading in closer and closer to playoff hockey for the BC Elite Hockey League, and pretty eventful weekend here in the Kin Center. Let's break it down.
Yeah, and Kin number 2, we had the Northern Capitals and the U17 Caribou Cougars for most of the weekend. Obviously, the first game was in Kin 1, where the Caribou Cougars came back and won in overtime against the Greater Vancouver Canadians. GBC was up 2-0 on the Saturday. Caribou came back late in that game. Vinny DeSalvo, the overtime winner, and that one they gave them the first win of the weekend. Game number 2 on the Sunday, Caribou in control all afternoon long. A huge effort there, a 6-3 victory over Greater Vancouver. Colton Campbell, a hat trick, Gavin Parmar, also Luke Caprillo rounding out the 3 stars in the game for the Cougars. So a pretty good effort there for Caribou as they clinch 6th spot in the standings. Going to play the Vancouver Northwest Hawks in round 1. Greater Vancouver drops to 7th. They will play the 2nd seeded team, I think the Fraser Valley Thunderbirds in the U17 category. So nice to see that everything all worked out there. And Northern Capitals with a pair of victories at home on their senior weekend, 3-1 on Saturday, followed by a 2-1 win on the Sunday. Tom Server's goaltender, though, almost stealing the show on this Sunday. Capitals had, I think it was 55 plus shots in that game and only allowing 2. So Capitals getting a bit of a scare on the Sunday, but they still get the 4 points. They clinched 3rd out of the 5-team league and will play the Fraser Valley Rush in the first round of the playoffs. That, of course, will be in 2 weeks' time.
Yeah, really good weekend there for the Northern Capitals. A bit of a rough set of games, back-to-back weekends before they come home to conclude the regular season campaign. And they put on a show in front of friends and families, and definitely a very memorable moment for a lot of our aging out players for the seniors game we had there on Saturday.
Yeah, a handful of players graduate this year. It's always a touching moment to have them and the families and even in some cases some of the siblings come on the ice for a picture, stand during the anthem. So a nice classy touch there as they slowly wind down on their U18 AAA careers. Obviously, the biggest name from that list, of course, Stacia Ebert, who's committed to the University of Windsor Lancers. Of course, Gabby Meyer recently committed to the Red Deer Polytechnic College Queens as well. I would imagine there'll be a couple more commitments between now and then, but it's always tough to see the graduating players go, especially players that we built around over the past 3-4 seasons that have become the core of this team.
Yeah, that's one of the bittersweet moments working in the development ranks, especially in AAA hockey here in our region. Of course, for the Capitals, the Northern Capitals are the big premier program for youth female hockey players to come play and develop. And as you get a lot of girls coming in from out of town, they grow up in your backyard, you work with the players, and you get to build those relationships with them through the game. And it's really cool to see that they are going to be moving on and carrying on their hockey hopes and dreams and academic hopes and dreams as well. But also bittersweet to see them leave.
Yeah, it's one of those mixed emotions type of thing. You know it's coming, you know it's part of the system, but it doesn't make the process any easier for the coaches or the players. So I mean that's kind of what makes this so difficult in terms of that process. But that's developmental hockey to a point. But it's kind of that passing to the torch, if you will.
The passing of the torch is a good way to leave it off. Is the Northern Capitals this year, as well as having a good, strong leadership core of veteran players, they have a lot of really good, promising young and up-and-coming talent that did well this season, seemed to get better each game as the season went on. And next year, they're going to be looking to take more of the leadership reins on this team.
Yeah, you got to think with another year under RJ, the 8th year under their belt. You have, they kind of play that junior-based system now. You can see the progress, the progression, the purpose in their game, especially when it comes to their forecheck. So that's been one of the big things, the big takeaways for me in watching this team play throughout the season, especially when we were all together in Fort St. James and we saw the outdoor game against the Rush as well as the game at Vanderloof. And I saw most of the Sunday game against Thompson Okanagan as well. You could clearly see that with the sense of direction, if they keep that system in place, they've got something.
The building blocks are certainly there, especially with Hayden James Barra at the helm. Let's move on to the U18 AAA Caribou Cougars. They were on the road, a rare instance where they're on the road and they play two different teams, two different locations back to back. They kick it off with the Northeast Chiefs on the Saturday, come out with a 6-2 victory, which clinched them first in the BC Elite Hockey League standings for the U18 AAA division. A big congratulations to this team that's worked hard all year, and finish it off by conquering the Giants on Sunday, a team they hadn't been able to beat all year. Final game of the season, they come out victorious 4-2 just in time before playoffs.
Yeah, and that's a confidence booster. I mean, this is a Giants team that's big, fast, physical, an older team similar to the Northwest Hawks, albeit probably a little bit more speed and skill than Vancouver Northwest. But, you know, this is a team that had Caribou's number. I mean, it was not a good Winter Classic weekend in terms of the results for the Caribou Cougars when they played the Giants in Fort St. James. You had a lopsided loss in the outdoor game, followed up by a wacky 9-6 loss, albeit two of those goals were empty netters by the Giants late in the game. But a lot of this game is mental. You kind of exercise those demons regardless of what point of the season you're in. Getting a win against the Giants is huge for the confidence of this group. You could argue, well, the game didn't mean anything to the Giants because they couldn't get any higher or lower in the standings. But a win's a win. Tyler Ruff and company will take it, and 4 points is 4 points.
Yeah, a big 4 points that is, as well as this U18 AAA Caribou Cougars team has worked really hard throughout this season, and I know they're going to be looking to get back to the drawing board to figure out what they got to do to secure the win on home ice for the weekend of March 7th, 8th, and 9th as they host the bottom-feeding Thompson Blazers.
Yeah, first versus eighth, David versus Goliath. You pretty much say it however you want. U17s, of course, they will play against the third-seeded team in that conference. I think it's next weekend, I do believe. Yeah. So against the Vancouver Northwest Hawks, who we just mentioned. Again, the other age group. U15s have their World Junior Style tournament down in the Lower Mainland. That starts on Thursday, so that's exciting times there. Caribou also finishing third there. Like we also just touched on, the Rush taking on the Capitals in 2 weeks' time down in the Lower Mainland as well. So all teams in it, all teams, dates are a little bit staggered, but still a lot to play for our local teams here.
Very well said. And let's move on to the BCHL action. The Spruce Kings did host the Chilliwack Chiefs in town. Unfavorable results for the boys in red and blue. Break it down for us.
Yeah, Friday's game, a wacky 6-4 finish. Spruce Kings were down 4-1 at one point. They came all the way back to tie it at 4-4, and then you had a game-winning goal by former Red Deer Rebel, Tri-City American, Dwayne Dean Jr. To win the game. They got the empty netter. Could have went either way. It was a back-and-forth kind of affair. Spruce Kings showing some grit and some character to come back in that game, and then on the Saturday game, you had the Chiefs winning by a 3-1 score. Carter Hesselgrave scoring the first goal of that game. Shorthand, nice job to strip the puck away from Theo Mercic, as well as the starting goaltender of that team, Quentin Miller. Spruce Kings had a lead for the most part, and then Chilliwack scoring 3 unanswered goals to clinch the weekend. No Charles Edward Gravel for the Spruce Kings due to bronchitis, so when you make the argument, Gravel plays in one or both of those games, they might either win both or get points in both of those games. Luckily, Langley only gained 1 point out of 4 against the Surrey Eagles this past weekend, so deficit is only 4 points. Spruce Kings still have 2 games in hand. Langley still has to come here March 7th and 8th, so Spruce Kings still very much in it, but a very critical 3-game road trip begins Thursday for the Spruce Kings down in Coquitlam. They'll play 2 lower mainland teams before finishing off on the Sunday in the interior against Salmon Arms. So big 6 points ahead for the Spruce Kings this weekend as they try and stay in range with the Langley Rivermen.
Moving on to the WHL, the Cougars were on the road for 3 games. They kicked it off in Langley against the Vancouver Giants. That was a whopping, was it 7-2 final in favor of the Giants. And they moved into Victoria, dropped both games against the divisional rival who they're jostling for back and forth for that top spot in the division. Break it down.
Yeah, 2 lopsided losses, not very good. It's certainly no excuse for this Cougars team after they pretty much spent all week on the road. I mean, you leave for Langley on Sunday, you board the ferry to Victoria. Tuesday, you spend pretty much 3.5, 4 days on the island. And call a spade a spade. They came out flat. You lose 5-3 on the Friday, and then you lose 6-3 on the Saturday. You're 9 back in Victoria. You still got 2 games in hand, but pretty much got to run the table now if you want any chance of getting that second seed. Victoria comes here twice at the end of the season. You've got Kelowna twice, Tuesday, Wednesday. You've got Kamloops Friday, Saturday. So 4 winnable games there for the Cougars, but Royals have to go on a bit of a slide here, and that doesn't seem likely right now.
Yeah, I mean, right now the Prince George Cougars, they're in a position where they can hold a lot of the cards in their favor. But I feel like when you go in and you have those lackluster starts and you get behind the 8 ball against a team like Victoria, like they've shown, they can bury you and they can win a game against you if you give that period off. And I think what you're going to be looking at for the Cougars is that going to be enough added motivation now, knowing you're in the stretch? You're going to have some teams that in theory you should beat. Both Kamloops and Kelowna have a lot of big injuries that are going to be out of the lineup. They're already they're already lower in the standings. They don't have the depth to really make up for it. Can you take advantage of these teams, or is it going to be a case where the mental game is starting to defeat the team?
And the most concerning part is that the Cougars could still drop even further in the standings to 6th or 7th. You got Tri-City, Portland, Vancouver, all within 5 to 7 points of the Cougars, trying to inch up the ladder as well. So Cougars aren't even safe for home ice right now. I mean, they do have the inside track of at least getting 1 round at home in the 2025 WHL playoffs, but they got to keep on winning in order to cement them.
So this week we got 3 games in the CN Center. We got Tuesday and Wednesday night. The Kelowna Rockets are in town. Friday night, which is going to be the cancer awareness night, we're going to have Kamloops in town facing the Cougars before the Cougars head right on the road to go back to Kamloops to play in the Sandman Center.
Yeah, 4 winnable games that the Cougars should win. Should come out on the right side of the scoreboard card, but you don't play the games on paper. You play them on the ice, and there's obviously a good reason for that. But it's gut check time for the Cougars. They're looking for answers. You only have a dozen games left before playoffs. That's less than a month to go, and you got to create those good habits before you start that postseason.
That's a good way to leave it off on that one.
Yeah. So this week we got a doubleheader in terms of guests for you on this week's show. We have former Caribou Cougar Curtis Hammond, who's now playing for St. Norbert Collegiate down in Green Bay, Wisconsin. I caught up with him. They're getting set for playoffs down there as well in NCAA Division III hockey, as well as Callas Pierce of Prince Rupert, former Trail Smoke Eater, now playing and garnering a much bigger opportunity with the Nanaimo Clippers. They're one of the hotter teams down the stretch in the BCHL. So I caught up with both Curtis Hammond and Callas Pierce. Here are 2 interviews for this week's show, and kick back, relax, and enjoy both. Welcome back to Hockey North Weekly. With me now is Caribou Cougar graduate and current St. Norbert College forward Curtis Hammond. Curtis, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, Curtis, you're in your 3rd year with St. Norbert. It's been a pretty solid year for the men's hockey team. 18-5 for the Green Knights on the season. What seems to be clicking at this point of the season?
Everything just comes down to our details. We harp that a lot in practice, and that's everything that we've built throughout this program and throughout the years, just details. And everything's just going our way right now. All the small details, defensive zone. That's a big key point with our St. Norbert men's hockey is big defensive zone, and then we'll play offense second. So I really take pride in our defensive zone, and I think that's probably our strongest suit of our game.
Okay. Um, just gonna pause. Can I just can you just log out and log back in actually? It's yeah, I'll start over from the top here.
Sounds good.
Okay. All right, I'm with Curtis Hammond of the St. Norbert College Green Knights men's hockey team. Curtis, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, Curtis, St. Norbert, 18-5 on the season, off to a fast start. You're in your third year with the program. What seems to be going well for you guys this season?
A big thing with St. Norbert men's hockey is the details, and all our little details in practice have been to on point, and then just getting down into the stretch, our defensive zone. That's one of our big things we take pride in here at St. Norbert, and play defense first and play offense second. I think that's just clicking and shutting down teams with defensive zone posture.
Yeah, it's been a pretty successful year for your team. You've had some pretty big wins. You beat Wisconsin Stevens Point, ranked number 9. You beat Aurora, ranked number 5. You beat Trine University. You split with them. So, it seems like all the teams that are ranked that you're either, trying to get one up on or trying to get ahead of, you've beaten this year. And it just seems like this a pretty strong group that you've assembled.
Yeah, we have a really strong group here. We had 10 freshmen come in this year, so we have a large class. But I think our core group of leaders have really led the way for those freshmen to jump in and get experience. And I think everything's just clicked so well. I mean, with those big wins against those ranked teams, it means a lot. And I think we can beat anyone in the division, and that's the goal. I mean, we're sitting in second right now, and we just got to try to hold that out for this last weekend here, heading into playoffs soon.
Mhm. What makes your team such an effective group?
I think probably just our speed and our details, like I said before. We're a fast skating group. We take pride of getting up and down the ice as quick as we can. Our neutral zone play is fast and effective, and our D try to hammer down points and keep pucks in. So I think just playing with speed and those little details makes us so effective as a team.
Mhm. This is your third year with St. Norbert. It's classified as a Division 3 program, but I've heard a lot of good things about St. Norbert over the years. What makes it such an effective program year in and year out?
I think, well, big main thing is our head coach, Tim Coughlin. He's been coaching here 20 something years, the most winningest Division 3 coach. The amount of knowledge and information he brings to the game and brings to the team really puts us over the top. And I think we're getting Division 1 semi-pro coaching from this guy. So I think that's really what sets us apart.
Hmm. Do you feel like the gap between, Division 3 programs and Division 1 in terms of talent and style of play and caliber of play is, you think that gap is closing?
I think it's closing a little bit. I always said that our division here in the NAHC or NACA or the NHCA, our division is the strongest division, and I think we always have the most ranked teams in the country. So I think our gap in between the Division 1 program, it's getting a little smaller, but it's still going to be there with those top teams that are ranked high in Division 1.
Hmm. What were the expectations going into the year? You talked about having the 10 freshmen on your roster. Were you expecting, or was the team expecting this strong of a year from this group, being 18-5 at this point? You've run 4 in a row, you're 13-3 in the conference. Things have been sailing along for the most part all season long.
Yeah, every year it's goal to win the national championship, and we came in with that same mindset this year, even coming in with 10 freshmen. We knew that we were going to have to teach them a few things and get them ready for the game, but they fit into our group just perfect. And I mean, like I said, every year we're trying to win a national championship. So that was the mindset coming in.
How would you best describe yourself as a player, and how has your game evolved um, since junior and since being a part of the Caribou Cougar program?
Yeah, well, when I was at the Caribou Cougar program, I played my last year midget hockey there, and I think I really took off in points that year. I'm a two-way player, physical, really bring the energy to the group, and that's what I try to do. Throughout juniors, kind of did the same thing. Felt through my first couple of years of juniors, I never really got that chance to stand out, and then I ended up going to the Melfort Mustangs in my 20-year-old year in the SJ there. And Trevor Blevins gave me the opportunity, as much opportunity as he could, and I took a run with that and had a very successful year, which landed me at St. Norbert. And then obviously now at St. Norbert, freshman year, I was trying to bring that physical energy game, and I did that well, earning freshman of the year. And then these last 2 years have kind of been battling injuries, but trying to keep that energy roll and playing a 200-foot game and being smart in the defensive zone and penalty killing and doing all that sort of stuff.
You're from the Fort St. John area, like a lot of kids in the northern communities where, population's a bit smaller and there's sometimes not enough kids to have, elite programs per se. You played Fort St. John Flyers, U15 AA. You went to the Trackers program, which is very popular up in the Peace region before making the jump to the Caribou Cougars. I guess just talk about your time in Fort St. John in your hometown with those two programs, as well as starting out to the minor hockey system.
Yeah, my time in Fort St. John was awesome. I never really knew too much about hockey outside of Fort St. John. I'll tell like a little story. My first year midget trying out for Trackers, I thought that was the best hockey you play up north. So um, I tried out, made first cuts. I was super excited. Never really knew there was that next step to the Caribou Cougars. So I played that first year with Trackers. Great time. Hell of a program there that they're building now. But then my second year, I actually went to Caribou tryouts and I made it all the way to the very last cuts. So that was unfortunate, but came back the next year and made that. But my time, like growing up in minor hockey in Fort St. John, it was awesome. We had Phil Hiscock there with best performance. He always did hockey camps throughout the year, and I was always a part of those and still a part of those now with helping out with coaching and stuff like that. But honestly, the community in Fort St. John is top notch for hockey players and trying to excel, and they're always wanting to move you on. So you could always back them up.
Yeah, there's a lot of really good players that have come to that area over the years. You have yourself, you have, a whole slew of others, including the midget female program, where a lot of female players from the Predators program graduate and play for the Northern Capitals. What's in the water down in the Peace region and in the Northeast where you're able to pump out a lot of good players? I know you mentioned Phil Hiscock and the performance coaching there, but is there anything else other than that area is really passionate about hockey that that really aids in the development of a lot of these players?
I think just how cold it is and the weather we got up there, that's kind of what all we did growing up, whether it was on the pond, whether it was in the rink. So honestly, just the environment and having such a small town environment, that's what everyone was doing, was playing hockey. So all your friends were playing hockey. Anyone you knew was playing hockey. Your sister was playing hockey. It doesn't matter. I mean, everyone was always on the rink or on the pond playing. So I think just starts from there, always on the ice and building your skills. So.
Mhm. Now, just taking a look at your bio here, aside from playing hockey, you enjoy fishing, hiking, golf, kayaking, softball. So, safe to say that you enjoy the outdoors when you're not lacing up the skates?
Yeah, exactly. Back in the summers, try to get out on the lake as much as I can, whether it's with my buddies on boats or I take my little kayak out and go fishing. We go up in the Hudson Hope area, go fish for big trout, walleye, pickerel, anything like that. But honestly, anything outdoors in the summer, as much as I can be. I mean, I work construction and carpentry up there. I've done that for the last 4 summers now. This will be my fifth this year. So honestly, just trying to stay outside as much, and honestly, just the activity part of it's what I love. So.
Do you have any minor hockey memories or any notable memories from your time with the Flyers or the Trackers that stand out to you before making the jump to the Caribou Cougars?
Yeah, I think my second year at Trackers, we hosted provincials, and growing up, since we were so far north, we always had buys to provincials in BC because we played in the Northern Alberta AA League there. So we always had to buy into the British Columbia provincials, and we ended up getting the host in our second year Trackers, and that was the first time we ever medaled for provincials. So that, I mean, that was a big one. Another big one is obviously winning the BCMML with Caribou. That was, I'll never forget that. One of my greatest hockey memories that I can think of.
Yeah, just taking a look at that Trackers team from 17-18. You're the leading scorer on that team, not only in the regular season, but in the playoffs. You had Connor Bowie on that team who played in the Western Hockey League for the Prince George Cougars, now in university. John Harrington, a Caribou Cougar, Prince George Spruce King, now in the NCAA. Devin Menard also put on the jersey for the Caribou Cougars as well. I mean, you had a pretty good group there, and do you still keep in touch with guys like Connor and John every now and again?
Yeah, every now and again we get in touch. There when Connor went over and played in the FISU games, I contacted him and we talked about that because I had some teammates that played in that a couple of years back. But I mean, that was a great experience for him, and we all try to stay in touch as much as we can. And we got our own things and we're busy, but it's great, great group that we had from there.
Yeah, you talked about winning the championship in 2018, 19 with the Caribou Cougars the following season. You were also the leading scorer on that team. You had the likes of Brendan Pigeon, Brett Fudger, Booker Daniels, Alex Achitwa, who's been playing in the NCAA, Grady Thomas, Brendan Bott, John Harrington, who, of course, you were teammates with previously with the Trackers, Jacob Gendron played with the Vancouver Giants. I mean, that was another very skilled and very deep group that was able to, I don't want to say overcome the odds because I would imagine the expectations were there, but were able to get to the finish line, as it were.
Yeah, I mean, we had another great group there. I found, I mean, our head coach, Tyler Bruff, Renzo, RJ, Hayden, all those guys, they're huge to our success. Renzo's class ice in the morning in Prince George, I mean, that was huge for our group. And honestly, I mean, we had a ton of skill that year, and we had great work ethic and great leaders and great coaches leading us to the end of the way in Fraser Valley there.
Yeah. And of course, after that, you had begun your junior A journey with the Bonnyville Pontiacs. Unfortunately, the pandemic shut you down towards the end. You had a bit of a mini season there with Grand Prairie the year after. Just talk about making the jump to the AJHL and how difficult was that for you to go through the pandemic right in the middle of everything and then have to basically start up virtually on the fly um, after pretty much a year away.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely hard for sure. We actually just ended up losing our first round of playoffs with Bonnyville there, and then I think it was we just got back to Bonnyville, and the next day we were shut down with COVID. So that was unfortunate. But yeah, that little mini season in Grand Prairie, I mean, it was hard. I think we played 10 games that year, and we were locked down in our build houses for a few months there, not doing anything, weren't allowed to leave, nothing. So, I mean, it was hard for staying on the ice and keeping our feet, but we tried to get to the outdoor rink as much as we could, but it was never as good as real practice. So it was definitely hard that year, and there's many challenges. So
And of course, you went to the Melfort Mustangs. You talked about Trevor Blevins giving you a lot more of an expanded opportunity, which you took a liking to. 28 goals, 50 points, 126 penalty minutes that year. It pretty much led you to the opportunity at St. Norbert. Melfort, traditionally very strong in the SJHL, usually at or near the top in that league. Um, just touch on that year and what seemed to click for you offensively in your 20-year-old season.
yeah, I mean that year I wasn't too sure what I was going into. Always heard about the SJ. It was physical league, very high energy stuff like that. But after talking to people like Hayden Barra, RJ, Todd Alexander, backup coaches of the Huskies there. They all played over in the SJ and they knew a lot of things about it. So talking to them, they said, you need to go take your opportunity. So I ended up going over there. I think honestly, just the opportunity and the players that I was playing with was what made it click so well. It just seemed like the puck was always on my stick. It was awesome time to be there, and everything was just going the right way, and I was just working as hard as I could.
Mhm. And of course, you turned that year at Melfort with a scholarship with St. Norbert. Just take us through that process in recruiting when you have schools, contacting you, and then just the whole decision on where to go, what courses you're going to take. Just give us an insight of what that process is like from a player perspective when you are talking to either one school like St. Norbert or potentially multiple schools trying to land your services.
Right. So I think the first time I ever talked to a school would have been the first SJ showcase that we had. I talked to, I think, one or two bottom NCAA teams, and that was really my first experience talking to a school, so I wasn't too sure what to expect. And then throughout the season, we never really heard too much from schools. And then coming down probably a month before playoffs started, that's when the phone started ringing quite a bit. I talked to a few schools up in Canada, and then obviously a couple down here. And honestly, I was just trying to weigh my options, what school was historically the best, what schools produced and moved on the most players. And also, I had my roommate, Mark Snar, with me in Melfort. He was talking to pretty much the same schools I was, and we were both weighing the both odds. And we ultimately decided to both come to St. Norbert, which has been awesome. We've lived together the past 4 years now. But yeah, honestly, you just want to weigh your odds and or weigh your opportunities and see what's your best fit for you.
Mhm. Just take us through what it's like to be a part of the St. Norbert community and what does a typical, home game look like for your club and what the atmosphere is like just in terms of, the passion from the students and such.
Yeah, I mean the community here is awesome. We're just on the outside of Green Bay here. I say we're pretty much in Green Bay. My house is only 10 minutes from Lambeau Field, so that's pretty awesome. But yeah, I mean the experience inside the rink. We have an older rink right now. It's a pretty small barn, but the student section it gets filled for those big games, those national or those ranked teams that we're playing. The student section it gets filled up. It's loud. It's energetic, and we have a lot of local community fans that show up to every single game, which has been awesome. And I mean, every day playing in that Cornerstone community rink is awesome and such high energy. It's great.
Yeah. Who are some of your biggest rivals, and are there certain teams that you like to get up and play against a lot more than others?
I mean, our biggest rival as of the last, I mean, 5, 10 years is Adrian. Um, they're always a top school, just like St. Norbert here, and we both we hash it out. And this was actually the first time we swept Adrian was this year since I think it was 2017 or something like that. So that was huge for our school. But another big one, I'd say Stevens Point University. They're a big rivalry. Other than that, I mean, any team in the NCHAs can beat any team. You got to bring it every night. So I don't really say there's any team that's easy to play against in our division.
Yeah. Yeah, just taking a look at your rink here on the St. Norbert website, it looks like an intimate place to play. Obviously, a bit smaller. It looks like you have the fans on the one side and then the end zone. Just looking at some of the photos, but I would imagine when the team's on a roll and the team's playing well, it can get pretty loud in there.
Yeah, I mean, the concourse for the two end walls, concrete goes right along the glass there. So, I mean, fans and students get up right onto the glass and it gets rolling and rocking in there. It's awesome.
Yeah. Who is your favorite player growing up, and who do you try to pattern your game after now?
Favorite player growing up, it's Ryan Nugent Hopkins. I was a Edmonton fan ever since I was a little kid. Uh, Always enjoyed watching him when he was drafted to Edmonton there, and still continue to enjoy watching him. I think he's great defend like 200-foot player, and it's kind of how I try to play. But maybe a player that I'd try to mimic my game after, I'd say maybe Matthew did Chuck. I mean, I like being a rat. I get in there, I create high energy, try to hit guys. I mean, try to get under everyone's skin and uh, try to kind of play like him. But I mean, I think I have my own qualities that I do well. So
Hmm. And while the goal for every hockey player is to make the NHL or play some semblance of pro, and there's obviously a life after hockey. Once schooling is done for you, and once you're done playing your senior season, I know you have a year left after this, but um, what seems to be on the roadmap for you? I mean, do you have an inkling or a passion to play pro? Do you have a career path for you that you want to pursue? You talked about carpentry and construction that you have worked on over the summer, over the past several years. Um, is that something that you might be leaning towards once school is done?
yeah, I mean, I've always thought what's going to happen after school, and ever since coming here, I've always been wanting to play and continue playing after school. I mean, just a matter of the opportunity to happen. But other than that, I mean, I'm in school right now for business and a minor in sports management. So, I mean, always keeping my options open and looking into those avenues. But definitely, I mean, the end goal is try to go over and play a little bit of pro over in Europe before settling down into the workforce there.
Yeah. Yeah, you've got Lawrence University this weekend before you have the Harris Cup playoffs. What I see on the schedule looks like you'll be starting at home in the quarterfinals. Um, with two games left in the regular season against Lawrence, you have senior night at home on the back half of the doubleheader. What are some of the things that you, as well as the team, wants to have fine-tuned going into the postseason?
Details, I mean, I mean, I know I've harped on that a lot, and our coach harps on it a lot. And um, we had a couple spurts there where we weren't very good, and we lost a few that we probably shouldn't have lost. And it was just slow starts or stuff like that. So think just these last two games here is just starting on time and doing those little details because when it gets down in the playoffs after that first round, it's one game and your season's over. So you got to be on your game every night. And I think that's just what we need to try to hone in and get settled coming in the playoffs here.
Mhm. I'm going to ask you a funny question here. I've asked this on the podcast a few times. So you're stranded on a desert island with three of your teammates. Who are you picking and why?
Three of my teammates. I'm gonna have to go Calvin Hansen. He's a Minnesota boy. He's a farmer, so he'll know how to do any crafty things. Another teammate, say Brock Baker. He's guy you could talk to for days and hours on end, so I know I wouldn't get bored with him. And then say another one is probably roommate Mark Starr, another Canadian boy from Calgary. So I think we'd do pretty good on the island.
All right. Well, thank you very much for joining me here, Curtis. Good luck the rest of the way, and hopefully your team is able to land a national championship here at St. Norbert.
Perfect. Thank you very much. I appreciate you having me on. Thank you.
Of course. All right. So I'll stop the recording. Well, from Prince Rupert to Nanaimo, Callas Pierce is making a difference for the Nanaimo Clippers here of the BCHL. And the Prince Rupert product is our guest here on the Hockey North Weekly podcast. Callas, thank you for joining me.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Brendan. I'm happy to be here.
Perfect. Well, Callas, you joined the Nanaimo Clippers just prior to the BCHL deadline from the Trail Smoke Eaters. How's the adjustment been to Vancouver Island?
The adjustment's great. Yeah, it's back. It's good to be back in seeing the ocean and all that, and being in a bit of a bigger town. Obviously, loved Trail. The guys were great there. The coaching staff was great, but in the end, it's a business, and here we are now in Nanaimo, and I'm loving it here so far. It's great.
Guess just talk about the type of role that you're playing now with the Cougars. It seems like with the Clippers, rather, it seems like you playing a little bit more of a consistent role offensively with Nanaimo than you were with Trail. Trail, of course, a little higher up the standings, maybe a little bit more stacked in terms of all-around talent. Just talk about what the increased opportunity has been like for you so far.
It's awesome. Yeah, like I said, Trail's got a good thing going on right now. So ice time was a little limited, but when I came over to Nanaimo, Berkey told me like I would have an impact here, just with the offense I bring, and playing more minutes every night. It builds the confidence as well as working hard, just shift by shift, getting every opportunity. The legs don't stay cold on the bench anymore. You're ready to get going and go pull one in the net.
Yeah. And has it kind of been a confidence booster for you, knowing that, you had the vote of confidence from the coach and the organization to play that bigger role? Not that you didn't in Trail, but the opportunity where you were previously didn't quite present itself because of the players that you probably had in front of you.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. It's a huge confidence booster. I mean, playing in a bigger role, like top six, regular minutes, like I said, like producing, you get confident and then you start to try stuff. You show your skill off a little more and really, really sets the boys up for success.
Yeah. Nah, I guess talk about too. Probably loving seeing the ocean again. We were talking off air prior to the interview. How happy you were to kind of be closer to the water. You're from Prince Rupert, and just probably you were slightly impressed with how big of a city this is.
Yeah, yeah, like we said before, I had no clue. I thought it was just a little small city next to Victoria, and guess I got to touch up on my geography a little bit because 120,000 isn't very small compared to Trail, which was only about 7,500 people. So it's good to see the ocean again. And I spend the summers in Kelowna, so it's nice to be in a bit of a bigger city again.
Yeah. Guess just talk about growing up in Prince Rupert, how you first got involved with hockey, and who were some of your idols growing up?
Yeah, well, growing up, my dad and my mom, they put me on the skates when I was two. And then I played my first year hockey at four. Um, my inspiration. My dad passed away in 2020, but he was my hero. He played a big impact on who I am as a person and how I am as a hockey player, and he taught me how to play the right way. So I would say him for sure, and then all the credit to the coaching staff. Like everywhere I've played, they've really helped me develop. And in Rupert, we had a pretty good squad. I mean, we won zones a couple times, and you know, going to PG, had great coaching there. I would say, obviously we talked about Brett Fudger before, who's from Rupert. Like, he had all the same great coaching staff as I did in Rupert or in Prince George. Sorry, so it really reflects like the northern BC area is good for producing hockey players and good talent.
Yeah. You made the decision to go to rank in Kelowna. you went the academy route. You enjoyed some good years there. Played with a lot of good players. Just looking at the rosters, you played with Cameron Schmidt. You played with Hunter Lang, Hudson Kibblewhite. A lot of these guys, are in the Western Hockey League right now. That are their landed copper. Just going up and down the roster. You probably had some pretty good years there out in the Okanagan.
Yeah, it was great. Like I said before, I spend the summers in Kelowna now, and I train there. I still train at rink in the summer because it's just it's such a good program and it's produced so many good guys, whether that's in Kelowna or Winnipeg. But yeah, like a few guys you mentioned, like Schmidt's gonna get drafted first round this year. Kibby's having a good year in the WHL, and then Langer's already drafted by the Flames, and I still keep in touch with all of them. Another one to add, Evan Gardner. He was my goalie. He's drafted by Columbus. Just goes to show how much talent that they produce, and it's awesome to see.
Yeah, Evan Gardner, a Fort St. John product. We were talking about Columbus there. You had that a heck of a playoff run last year with the Blades as a 17-year-old. Him and Josh Ravensbergen, kind of, forced their way into the starter's role. What does it mean to you to see so many of those guys that you played with see so much early success in their junior careers?
It's awesome. I mean, as far as I know, I'm pretty sure everyone from that U18 team I played on that year has played some sort of junior. So I mean, everyone loves it. It's a great experience. Like the talent that they have is just insane. Like being able to skate with them every day, being in the gym with them, seeing how hard they work, seeing their habits, and everything is just to that pro level, and it just goes to show like they deserve to be there.
Who do you try and pattern your game after?
I'm a bit of a, I like to play heavy. I would like to say like Matthew Tkachuk. I like to watch him a lot, just because he gets in the dirty areas and, he'll answer the bell if he needs to. And he's a good guy, great leader, goal scorer, point guy. Yeah, everything you look for in a player.
Yeah. We touched on the Clippers a little bit. We'll touch on them a little more here. Nanaimo was kind of, struggling a little bit the first half of the year. Then you came along with a few other bodies after Christmas. What seems to have clicked with this Clippers team over the last 10 games or so?
Yeah, I mean, we're on an 8 game point streak right now. We just won 7 in a row. We actually just lost to the Spruce Kings in overtime, so that's a tough one. But I mean, when I got there, everyone was super welcoming. The coaching staff was great. The players were great. It's a pretty tight bond there right now, and especially now that we're winning games. The group is pretty tight, and we're a good morale in there, and I think that contributes a pretty good amount to success. And because if you're in a bad room, and the morale is low, you're not going to win very many games.
Yeah. There's a lot of history in that franchise too.
Yeah. Oh yeah, big time. A lot of winners.
Yeah. Of course, you're on the island. A lot of natural rivalries because everybody's so close. You've got Cowichan, Alberni Valley, Victoria. There's based on how strong those teams are in that division and just in that coastal conference, there's no really nights off, is there?
No, no, not at all. I mean, you can see the scores in this league. Every game's a tight game. 1 or 2 goal game aside from a couple, but yeah, like the battles we have against Victoria and Alberni, basically every second weekend you're playing one of them because just from being on the island. But yeah, it's competitive, and you want to be the top. You want to run. You want to have that swagger over the other teams that you can beat them, and you run the island. So I think going into playoffs here, we just came off a 5-0 win against Victoria. We got them again Saturday. It's gonna be a good one to see how we can match up again.
Yeah. How are you and some of your teammates and a lot of other players that that may be in the BCHL, how are you navigating the change in eligibility rules with major junior players now able to play NCAA? We've seen a lot of player movement off of the BCHL, close to 60 players going major junior. A couple have since trickled back, but how are you and a lot of your teammates navigating this on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, well, it's just another pond that they can fish out of, right? It just goes to show the competition. I mean, BCHL has great players, and so does the CHL. And I feel like, we compete with them just as well. Maybe it's a different league. It's not as popular and stuff, but the skill in this league is just as good as the stuff in the WHL. That it's awesome. It's awesome to see. It's great competition.
Hmm. Let's talk about your time in trail after graduating from rink. You're a rookie at 3 points, 27 games. Last year, you played in 2 playoff games. Took a bit of a step up, 11 points in 25 playoff regular season games before going to Nanaimo. What was it like living in the Kootenays there for a while?
It's awesome. It was great. My aunt and uncle live in Grand Forks. It's about an hour away from the trail, and I got cousins there too. So a little bit of family down there, and trail was awesome. I mean, the people there were great. The fans are great. Like the facilities there are next level. I don't have any bad things to say about them. The people, the billets, the food, it's all great.
Yeah. Um, let's maybe talk about pregame routines. Is there anything that you like to do? Anything that rituals that you have in order to get yourself mentally prepared for a game?
Uh, Nothing too specific. I mean, after warm up, we warm up. It's hit the ice at 6:25. So I don't start getting dressed till 15 minutes before. I sit in the stands from whenever we end our warm up till about 6:10, and that only for about 10 minutes, and that just kind of gets my level or my head level, and kind of preparing for the game in my own little area. Just no distractions around me, just me and my thoughts, and then when it's time to get dressed, and that's when it's time to dial in and hit the sheet.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite pregame meal?
Yeah, yeah, I love chicken parm, or anything to do with red sauce. Every pregame is that's the go-to.
Hmm. Favorite road city in the BCHL?
Road city. Well, I guess I could say trail now, but I would say Penticton was pretty fun to play in, just because that rink got good fans there. But yeah, honestly, yeah, Penticton in on the island. Probably Victoria. Victoria is a fun place to play in, or Alberni. They get great fans there. Whenever we beat them, it's always good to see the dog pound. Pretty quiet after a game.
Um, what's the community support like for the Clippers? We talked about the history and the franchise. It looks like the fans are starting to come back and gravitate towards this group after a tough start. What's it like when you're out and about in the community when you're not playing?
It's good. Everyone cares. We're super involved in the community too. So whenever we're helping out, people are always they recognize us. They'll come up to you. They'll talk to you about hockey or just your team. The fans are really good. The fans are starting to come back too. I don't know what the attendance numbers were before Christmas, but some of the boys were saying that the fans are starting to pile in now. I think we had about 1,700 last game, so it's pretty good.
Yeah. What's it going to take for this Nanaimo team to not just clinch a playoff spot down the stretch, but to potentially make some noise in the playoffs once you get there?
I think we're on a good pathway right now. Like I said before, we just won 7 in a row, 8-game point streak. I think our power play has been really good. We brought in some new guys, including myself. We brought in a goalie, Vladimir Keaton. He's drafted by the Senators, and he's been lights out, as well as Chaz Nixon. So I think goaltending is good. I think our decor is unreal. Our forwards are pretty good, and I think we're ready to. I think this is the squad that's going to make the push deep in the playoffs.
And I was just going to ask you about your goaltending. Do you feel that you have a pretty good 1 and 1A kind of a tandem now with both Chaz and Vladimir?
Yeah, I mean they're unreal. I mean I don't think Berkey knows what to do, because they're both so good that he's got to play them both, right? So they've been splitting both weekends. They don't ever have a bad play, or they don't ever let in one that you're like, oh, you should have had that one. Like you feel really confident with them being in the pipes, no matter which one it is.
Mm-hmm. Guess just maybe take us through some of your long-term goals in terms of the sport. Obviously, every kid growing up and playing this level of hockey will say, "Well, I want to play pro. I want to play in the NHL." But if that doesn't work out for you, what's your backup plan for life after hockey?
Yeah, obviously the goal is, like you said, pro, but I would like to play at least college hockey, get my degree. I'd like to get my business degree, and I actually plan on running my own business, something to do with the trades. I think I want to run like my own heavy duty mechanic business, something or something like that. Something super gritty, something only someone from someone from Prince Rupert would do. One of those things.
And you got a lot of do-it-yourselfers, a lot of people that are outdoorsy and mechanically inclined.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. I got some people. I got some people that will work for me.
Yeah. Do you like to be outdoors? Do you like to hunt or fish? Do you like to just be with nature because, Prince Rupert kind of has a climate that's suitable for that?
Yeah, I love like growing up. We'd go camping all the time in the summer, and fishing, dirt biking, ATV, and all that fun stuff. So I'd much rather be outside than inside. But as you know, like Rupert, it rains all the time, so it's pretty hard to get out there at certain times. But yeah, when I can, being outside's awesome. Whether that's being in the lake in Kelowna or going for a polar bear dip in the ocean or something like that, and going through all the trails, skiing, all that stuff. It's awesome.
You ever run into any grizzly bears out there?
No grizzlies, but I was ATVing when I was younger, and there was like a huge black bear. Well, at least I thought it was huge, and it was on my path, and it scared me, to say the least. I ripped my quad around, and I sped home.
Yeah. Yeah, there's probably no shortage of different wildlife where you are.
Oh no, wolves, cougars, bears, eagles, whales, all that stuff, sea lions, everything.
All right. So I'll ask you a fun question here, Callas. So you're stranded on a desert island with three of your teammates. Who are you picking and why?
Oh, all right, that's a tough one. I think I'd bring my captain, Connor Gutierrez. Just a great leader. I feel like he's got the brains too. He would know what he was doing. He knows what he's gonna do. But if he's stranded on the island, I mean, just brings good jam. Just a good guy. Love to have him beside me. My second guy, I'd probably bring Mitchell Patrick, just because he's a smart guy too. He's from Airdrie. He's an Alberta guy. Not Probably doesn't know what to do with water, but he could figure it out. He also brings good jam to the group. There's so many guys I could bring, though. It's hard to narrow it down to just two, but that's tough. Oh, wait, do I get one more?
Yeah, you get one more. You get one more.
Ooh. Spring Luke Lavery. He's a Nanaimo boy. He lives on the ocean. He knows what he's doing. He's a fifth year. Over 200 games to BCHL. He's grizzled. He'll know what he's doing.
All right. Well, thank you very much for spending time with me on the podcast here at Callas. Good luck to the rest of the way, and might be able to do this again here in the future.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for having me.
All right. Thank you, Callas.
See you later.
Yeah. How do you think that went?
All right, that was Callas Pierce, Curtis Hammond, our two guests on this week's episode of the Hockey North Weekly podcast here. Before we head send off, we're actually to spend some time on the KIJHL playoffs and some pretty exciting news there with both the Quesnel River Rush and the Williams Lake Mustangs in the first round of the playoffs there. Hunter Mile House Wranglers, a top-seeded team in the Doug Burke's division. They're hosting their semifinals against the Williams Lake Mustangs starting Friday and Saturday in 100 Mile House before the season shifts to Williams Lake on Monday, March 3rd and Tuesday, March 4th for the first playoff home games in that community in a long time. And you have Quesnel, exact same dates, taking on the Kamloops Storm. Of course, Kamloops holding serve in terms of home ice there, but pretty exciting times down in the Caribou with the River Rush and the Mustangs, as well as the 100 Mile House Wranglers, but more so the two newer franchises. Lots of playoff hockey in the Caribou region, and the anticipation and the energy should be high when both of those series shifts to games 3 and 4.
Absolutely, the anticipation is very strong in both those markets in Quesnel and Williams Lake, and I think you're going to start seeing some of that excitement trickle down outside of those communities, as well as I think you're going to see a lot of people that are in the surrounding areas coming out and supporting the two teams and really getting a taste of what the KI is all about.
And of course, I also want to mention too Prince George's Jasper Tate, goaltender for the top-seeded Grand Forks Border Bruins, along with Keenan Holland, former Caribou Cougar, Hub Smithers, also member of the Border Bruins. They've got their first round The Castle Rebels, Border Bruins, of course, heavily favored in that series against Castle.
Yeah, it's going to be a good series for the Porter Bruins and Castlegar Rebels. Also, I believe the interim head coach there is Alex Evan, who was the former head coach and a member of the coaching staff for the past 7 years here for the Prince George Spruce Kings.
Yeah, so they got their hands full against the Border Bruins. Border Bruins, of course, heavily favored in that series, but should be a fun time of year in the KI and a chance for a lot of our local players to make their mark on those rosters. So once again, for my co-host Tyler Lazant, this is Brendan Paul saying, signing off for another week here as we wrap up this edition of the Hockey North Weekly Podcast.